Hello everybody and welcome to History/Law Bite number 298, dated August the 11th, 2021. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. Thank you for tuning in. This History/Law Bite is entitled The Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts. Before I begin, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Juarez Lee Shelton, M.A., and also click on that little bell icon immediately to the right of the subscribe button. In doing so, you will receive notifications when I post new and exciting videos in history, law, political science, theology, and philosophy. Thank you in advance. So this video is definitely one that I took a great deal of pride in making, as you know, even though I'm a native Marylander, Massachusetts has always held a very special place in my heart. Okay, I've been there several times, and I view it as my home outside of Maryland. Okay, so in this video we're going to discuss, a great deal about the Supreme Judicial Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. All right. So the Supreme Judicial Court, all right, is the highest tribunal of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, all right? As such, the justices of this most honorable judicial body typically have the final say on the meaning of Massachusetts law. It is one of two, state Supreme Courts in the United States with the unique title the Supreme Judicial Court, all right? The other one being the Maine Supreme Judicial Court. Why do you think that is? You got it. That's because Maine was a part of Massachusetts for about 200 years, and when they broke away in 1820 to become their own state, they carried over a lot of the commonalities, one of which was the title of their highest court, all right? And that would be the Supreme Judicial Court, all right? So, dating back to 1692, ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Judicial Court, formerly known as the Superior Court of Judicature, is the oldest continually functioning appellate court in the Western Hemisphere. All right, and that's a very distinct honor. All right. The SJC, which I will refer to it from time to time, consists of 7 justices. All right, 1 chief and 6 associates. The current Chief Justice is Kimberly Budd. All right. All of the members of the Supreme Judicial Court are appointed by the governor of Massachusetts and confirmed by a unique body known as the Governor's Council or the Executive Council. All right. In most places, judges are confirmed by the Senate, whether it be on the federal level or in various states. All right. In Massachusetts, the judges are confirmed by the Executive Council. Okay. Once confirmed, the members of the Supreme Judicial Court may serve without term limitations until they reach the maximum service age of 70. Of course, they may retire well before reaching that age. Okay. Prior to 1972, all Massachusetts judges had life tenure, all right? And in 1972, an amendment was added to the state constitution, which required them to step down by age 70 if they had not already done so, all right? So the Supreme Judicial Court officially sits at the John Adams Courthouse, which is located at 1 Pemberton Square, Boston, Massachusetts, 02108, if you ever wanted to visit them and watch oral arguments, Also located in the John Adams Courthouse is the Massachusetts Appeals Court, which is the state's intermediate appellate court, as well as the Social Law Library. So a little bit of history about the Supreme Judicial Court. Dating back to 1691, King William and Queen Mary of England would issue a charter, formally establishing the province of Massachusetts. This charter, which would become known as the Second Charter, to be specific, directly authorized the colony, to create judicatories and courts of record. With the commencement of the Salem witch trials, okay, in 1692, a special court of Oye and Termine was created to hear evidence on those charged with witchcraft. All right, I know you've all heard of the Salem witch trials. Okay, so between June and October of 1692, this court, the Court of Oye and Termine, would sentence roughly 20 people to death. In October of 1692, the Court of Oye and Termine was formally dissolved, okay? And on the 25th of November that year, the Massachusetts General Court, the legislature, enacted a law creating the Superior Court of Judicature, all right? As well as other inferior judicial bodies, okay? The Superior Court of Judicature would sit for the first time on January 3rd, 1693 in Salem, Massachusetts, hearing several more cases involving those accused of witchcraft, all right? Most of these people, thankfully, would ultimately be acquitted of the charges, and others were pardoned by the colonial governor, okay? So the Superior Court of Judicature had both trial and appellate power, all right? Being able to hear felony cases on its original jurisdiction, and when it heard cases on appeal, it was a little different back then. Appeals resulted in a whole new trial altogether. You know, that's totally different from today when appeals just simply are reviewing issues from the trial court, all right? It's not a whole new trial altogether when it's heard on appeal. You know, it's the same case, all right? The higher court doing the appeal is just reviewing issues or, you know, procedural irregularities from the trial level that are in dispute, all right? Important distinction, ladies and gentlemen. So in 1761, the Superior Court of Judicature decided the famous writs of assistance case, which was a very significant case decided during the colonial period in the American colonies, perhaps the most significant one ever, all right? In that suit, Boston lawyer James Otis argued specifically that writs of assistance, which were general warrants that allowed government officials to search for unlawful or smuggled products in any suspected locations, okay, violated the inherent and inalienable rights of mankind. It's a powerful argument. The court ruled against Otis, okay, and the rights claim, but the damage to Great Britain's reputation and credibility was done, all right? Future President John Adams, all right, witnessed the argument, being a Massachusettsian himself, and stated right then and there that the child independence was born. So, fast forward about 14 years, okay, with the advent of the American Revolutionary War, all right, April 1775, you know, the famous battles of Lexington and Concord, all right. The Massachusetts Revolutionary Council took control of the colony's government and fired the incumbent justices of the Superior Court of Judicature, right? The only one who was retained was William Cushing. More on him later. Accordingly, the council replaced 4 of the 5 members with justices who obviously supported the American Revolution. John Adams was named as the court's Chief Justice, but he declined to accept said office, okay, and resigned accordingly, though he had never taken the office. In 1780, okay, when the new Massachusetts Constitution was adopted, the court was formally retitled the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts. That Constitution, the Constitution of 1780, all right, which was largely written by John Adams, is still in effect in Massachusetts to this very day, all right, of course with amendments, but that is their original Constitution, folks, and it is still fully operative as of 2021. So in February 1781, Governor John Hancock, all right, you know that name, right, would formally appoint 5 members of the Superior Court of Judicature as members of the new Supreme Judicial Court. All right. The following year, further qualifications were specified by the state legislature. Okay, justices of the Supreme Judicial Court, quote, shall be an inhabitant of this Commonwealth, of sobriety of manners, and learned in the law. Sounds good. Over the years, the number of justices on the court fluctuate a great deal, between 4 and 7 members. And since 1873, the number has remained at a steady 7. So, for the record, in case you weren't aware, the Supreme Judicial Court was originally bestowed with both trial and appellate jurisdiction, all right? As its appellate caseload grew, throughout the 19th century, its trial court jurisdiction was gradually reduced and eliminated. So the General Court removed the SJC's trial jurisdiction over tort cases in 1880, and in 1891 over capital murder cases. Okay, so for those instances, before those years, you went right to the Supreme Judicial Court, all right, for those matters, all right? No other court heard the matter first. So for most of its history, appeals went directly from the state's trial courts to the Supreme Judicial Court, okay, leading to an overloaded docket, all right, in need of reform very badly, all right. So that changed in 1972 with the creation of the Massachusetts Appeals Court, all right, and that significantly reduced the volume of judicial work handled by the Supreme Judicial Court, all right. So for its jurisdiction and particulars, all right, so as the highest court of Massachusetts, the SJC has the final say on the meaning of Massachusetts state law, all right, and its constitution in general. The Massachusetts Appeals Court typically hears all appeals initially, generally with the exception of murder 1 convictions. These proceed directly to the Supreme Judicial Court, thus bypassing the Massachusetts Appeals Court. And the Supreme Judicial Court, however, at its discretion, may also hear appeals directly from any of the state's trial courts. All right, so most state Supreme Courts have that ability to immediately take a case from whatever trial court decided it, thus bypassing the intermediate appellate court. So the SJC hears appeals in both criminal and civil matters from September to May of each calendar year. And the court also has single justice sessions, I bet you didn't know that, weekly on motions concerning cases on trial or appeal, bail review, bar discipline, petitions for bar admission, litany of other statutory matters as well, okay? Members of the SJC perform these duties as single justices each month in a rotating schedule. Single justice sittings respectfully are known as the Supreme Judicial Court for Suffolk County, all right? And from these proceedings, roughly 600 decisions are handed down each year. When a case is appealed to the full Supreme Judicial Court, each side's attorney, appellant and appellee, have about 15 minutes to present their cases, so you better be on point. During that time, the attorneys will be fielded with a litany of questions from the justices. Right? A litigant who loses at the Supreme Judicial Court may appeal their case to the Supreme Court of the United States if it involves a federal law or a U.S. constitutional question. All right, don't forget that. The full court typically hands down approximately 200 written opinions every year, all right? Assuming that they are exclusively about state law, those decisions from the SJC are typically final, all right? The SJC also has numerous other administrative responsibilities, including general oversight of the Massachusetts judicial system, regulation of the state bar. It implements and gives consent to rules for court operations throughout the state, and upon request, issues advisory opinions to the governor and the state legislature, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So additionally, the Supreme Judicial Court, with those other responsibilities, has statutory oversight over the Board of Bar Examiners, the Client Security Board, the Board of Bar Overseers, the Commission on Judicial Conduct, the Massachusetts Legal Assistance Corporation, the Massachusetts Mental Health Legal Advisors Committee, and the Correctional Legal Services Incorporated. So, to some of its important decisions, the Supreme Judicial Court has had the distinction of being either the first or nearly the first state Supreme Court in the country to rule on important issues of the day with far-reaching impact. All right, did you know that? And because of those decisions, Massachusetts, as a result, has often been on the forefront of social change in the nation, for better or for worse. Notable cases include Commonwealth versus Judicial, which was a landmark decision that ruled slavery to be incompatible with the Massachusetts state constitution, making Massachusetts the first state in the nation to effectively abolish slavery. Okay, Commonwealth versus Aves, 1836, which ruled that a slave voluntarily brought into Massachusetts, a free state, could not be forcibly removed from Massachusetts and returned to a state of slavery. Okay. Commonwealth v. Judicial was 1783, if I didn't mention that. Okay. Commonwealth versus Aves is 1836. Commonwealth versus Hunt, 1842, which legalized trade unions in the state as long as they weren't being created for some sort of revolutionary or, unjust or disruptive purpose. Okay. Roberts versus City of Boston, 1850, a very unfortunate decision which affirmed segregation in Boston's public schools and ruled and basically established the separate but equal doctrine, something that would be affirmed nationwide some 46 years later in the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision in Plessy versus Ferguson, legalizing separate but equal and racial discrimination. All right. And then last but not least, Goodrich versus Department of Public Health in 2003, which ruled that under the Massachusetts state constitution, same-sex couples had the right to engage in the institution of marriage, and the state had shown no compelling interest to be able to withhold same-sex couples from being able to get married. All right. State had shown no compelling interest to prohibit that. Okay, so moving on to its important members, and there have been quite a few. First, we have William Cushing, who was the author of Commonwealth versus Judicial in 1783, who served on the court from 1772 until 1790. When he became one of George Washington's first appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States. All right. Cushing served longer than all of President Washington's appointments to the Supreme Court, all the way until his death in 1810. Okay. Next, Justice Horace Gray, all right, who was an associate justice on the court from 1864 to 73, and then its chief from 73 to 82. All right. He would at that point be appointed to the Supreme Court of the United States, where he served until his death in 1902. Next, we have Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. I know you've heard that name, all right? Famous attorney and jurist Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. was appointed to the Supreme Judicial Court as an associate justice in 1882, a position he served in until 1899 when he became its chief justice. And he served in that role until 1902 when he was appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court by President Theodore Roosevelt. All right, he served on the Supreme Court until his death, until his retirement, in 1932. All right, Holmes passed away some 3 years after his retirement in 1935. All right, he lived a long time. Okay. Next, Ruth Abrams, who served on the court from 1978 until retirement in the year 2000. Ruth Abrams was the Supreme Judicial Court's first female justice. Okay? Charles Freed, all right? Very, very prominent legal scholar, Harvard Law professor, and former U.S. Solicitor General, served on the court from 1995 to 99. All right? Margaret Marshall, okay, who became the court's very only second, all right, female justice in its history, was appointed as an associate justice in 1996 and served in that role until 1999. Okay, in 99, she was elevated to become Chief Justice, and she became the court's very first female Chief Justice. Okay, she served in that role until her retirement in 2010. Next, we have Justice Roderick Ireland. Roderick Ireland, in 1997, when he was appointed as an Associate Justice of the SJC, became the court's first ever African-American justice, okay? He served in that role as an Associate Justice from 97 until 2010, when he was elevated to the position of Chief Justice, and as such, he also became the court's first African-American Chief Justice. Ireland would serve in that role until his retirement in 2014. Next, we have Justice Geraldine Hines, okay, who was appointed to the court in 2014, all right, and she served until 2017, all right. Justice Hines became the Supreme Judicial Court's very first African-American female justice, all right, and last but certainly not least, we have Chief Justice Kimberly Budd, all right? Chief Justice Budd was appointed to the court in 2016 as an Associate Justice, and she served in that role until the end of 2020 when she was elevated by Governor Baker to be Chief Justice, okay, a position she has held since the end of 2020, all right, as of the recording of this video. Chief Justice Kimberly Budd is thus the first African-American woman to be Chief Justice of the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts. Undoubtedly, Mum Bet, aka Elizabeth Freeman, who, was behind, the early freedom suits to end slavery in Massachusetts. Undoubtedly, Mum Bet is very proud of that indeed, okay? And to close out, the motto of the Supreme Judicial Court, translated into English, is as follows: we sell justice to no one, and we deny justice to no one. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts. If you have any questions or controversies, leave them down below and I'll be happy to answer them. If you like this video, found it to be interesting in any way, or learned something from it, please drop me a like down there. Those likes, they matter, all right? And I would appreciate it. And once again, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel as of this point, please do so now. All likes matter, all subscriptions matter, and I greatly appreciate you watching this video. If you made it this far, you're a soldier. So I want you to take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you at the next video. Peace.